Alrighty, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys. Welcome to tonight's weather chat. It'll probably be somewhat of a quick one here, as it is pre-recorded, at least this time around. But we do have some interesting things to talk about, at least in regards to the tropics. We have our latest tropical storm, and that is going to be Tropical Storm Lee, which is continuing to look really nice. And then we also have some thunderstorms that, hey, go figure, happen to be happening pretty much right where I live. So some much needed rain that we've needed there. So we'll take a look at the radar and yeah, let's go ahead and we'll start off though first with Tropical Storm Lee. Hey, check it out. Now, Tropical Storm Lee here is still in its infancy, but it's looking pretty good there on the satellite imagery. It may even begin to kind of develop a little bit of an inner core here. Now, there is a little bit of a ridge that's up to its north, and that's kind of helping to direct it kind of on this steady little west northwesterly direction here. Not only that, but it's looking like Lee might actually become a pretty decent sized hurricane. Now, you remember from last time we were talking about Adelia, we had the list of all the categories. Well, right now it's looking like Lee here may eventually become a Category 4 hurricane, but that won't be until the end of the weekend, at least the way things are looking right now. Now, mind you, Lee is actually going to be entering into an atmosphere where, again, right now it has a little bit of wind shear with it. But as we move our way through the next couple of days, that wind shear might start kind of going down a little bit, and then it's going to run into some very, very warm waters. Right now, it appears that it may be, at least the center of it, may be staying up to the north there of the Lesser Antilles, but still maybe getting a little bit close there. And again, it's going to likely begin to rapidly intensify, especially as we go towards the end of the work week by about Friday or maybe into over the weekend. Possibly, like I said, becoming a decent-sized hurricane here. So it'll certainly be interesting to watch. Obviously, still way far out to tell what exactly it's going to do beyond next weekend. Is it going to go to the East Coast? Will it turn north? We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But right now, the Hurricane Center is expecting that at least through the remainder here of the next 120 hours, or again, 5 days, it'll be tracking its way kind of gradually to the west-northwest there, hence the cone that you see there. Again, going to be very, very interesting to kind of keep an eye on. I know I'm excited, and again, we'll see if it runs over any buoys. We'll see if we can get some buoy cameras. I know we had a couple from Adelia, and that was pretty fun to watch. So again, we'll do all that, but right now, still trying to get itself, better organized here. And, it is looking pretty nice on the satellite imagery. So with that in mind, yeah, that's the tropics. So, and I forgot to mention too, this system came off as a wave off of the West African coast near the Cape Verde Islands, which for those of you who may know your hurricanes, Cape Verde hurricanes tend to do pretty well, especially this time of the year, naturally. But yeah, typically when we talk about, those big hurricanes, a lot of times they come out of the Cape Verde, or at least that's where they have their origination. That's where they originate from. Not to say that we can't get strong hurricanes from other parts of the Atlantic, but, Cape Verde hurricanes this time of the year tend to be some pretty good ones. So, again, we'll keep an eye on that there. And just looking at that satellite imagery, it does look pretty good. So that was the 5 o'clock update. The next one will be at 11 o'clock. Obviously, that'll be well after this video is posted. But we'll come back to it tomorrow evening and take another look at it. I'm hoping that it'll be probably a lot better shape too. So should be a very interesting one. All right, folks, let's go ahead and move over to the storms. I'm sure some of you guys are wondering if you can hear the rain. You've noticed I'm a bit wet because I was standing out in it. I am a weather nerd, in case you guys haven't noticed. I'm a meteorologist. That's what I do for a living. I do weather stuff. Hey, take a look at it there on the radar imagery. So this whole area, again, where I am and everything, pretty decent little grouping cluster here of storms, kind of a little bit of an MCS, I guess you could say. These developed as some scattered storms earlier on this afternoon, and they've just been gradually running into each other over the course of the past few hours. And developing outflows have been running into each other, and we get this beautiful radar picture here from two harbors all the way down towards about let's see here, this Douglas County, so about Moose Junction area, I guess. And take a look at that. You can even see the outflows still on the radar imagery. This is rain-cooled air coming out from the storms, acts as like a little miniature cold front, and a lot of times we see that areas new storms develop around this outflow boundary, especially immediately behind it there. So pretty interesting. We also have this guy, which right now does not appear to be much at all, and really it has weakened quite a bit. But earlier on, this thunderstorm was doing a pretty good job of maybe producing some hail around Brainerd, Minnesota, all the way over to the Tamarack area. We were looking at it during one of the Facebook lives, and if you didn't get a chance to see that, I'm sure you can find it on our Facebook page. But it, it looked pretty good on the radar imagery for a little while there. It probably was producing anywhere from maybe 1 to 2 inch size hail. However, keep in mind, folks, this is generally kind of a low populated area once you get out of some of the main towns, and storm reports are few and far in between. In fact, the most recent storm report we got from this storm was when it was all the way down here. Again, when it produced about 1 1/4 inch size hail. So pretty decent sized hail, but it's very possible that this guy probably produced a bit more. If we go ahead and back this radar imagery up here, you'll be able to see kind of the evolution of that storm. Look at those radar returns, folks. This thing looked really well here, even on the VILs, which I know you guys have seen me use before. It's basically, like I said, the measure of the amount of moisture within or liquid within a column of air. It's a good way to detect where there is hail in a thunderstorm. And take a look at some of the, take a look here at this thunderstorm back when it was over here. Look to your right, and where you start seeing those reds and then those purples and those white colors, that's a good indication that there's some hail. Look at that. When it made its way right over McGregor, it looked really well there for quite a while. And then even then, it kind of had some supercell structure to it. Is a lot of times these big hail producing storms are supercell thunderstorms. It did actually look like it might have had a little bit of rotation briefly when it was kind of passing its way through parts of northwestern Carlton County. And if we go ahead and flip off from the, and that'll be an interesting thing one of these days we'll have to talk about, is the structure of a supercell. They're quite fascinating. Those are the big thunderstorms that will produce those big tornadoes and the big hail. The ones you see out in the plains with the beautiful rotating wall clouds. Those are supercells. They happen everywhere, but one of these days we'll talk about it. And I want you to take a look here. Might be a little difficult to see here. We don't need to go back as many frames. But I want you guys to take a look at something. So this is the velocity radar image right here. Red are winds going away from the radar. Greens are winds going towards the radar. In this case, the radar is actually up in the Duluth airport. So we use this in meteorology to look for rotations and strong winds within a thunderstorm. Where we see high values, naturally that is strong winds there. So, these duller colors, not very much, where you start getting these kind of higher values, as long as it's not, side lobing on a radar. It's a good indication that there's probably some gusty, strong winds, and where we see them pitted right up against each other is a good indication that there's rotation. And take a look here, right as it made its way through the northwestern part of Carlton County, you can kind of see a little bit there of what may have been kind of a brief little notch that happened right around right. Boy, that is trippy to say here. See it briefly right there. But there is a little notch there. Obviously, in the type of atmospheric setup that we had today, that wouldn't be unheard of. But it did look like for a few scans that there was probably at least a little bit of low-level rotation, albeit not strong. You could even kind of see a little bit of a hook that came out with it right there. Again, didn't look like the type of supercell that we see, out in the plains, where the hook tends to be kind of at the bottom, well, I guess on the southwest side. Anyways, I guess using my hands is not a good example, but this one appeared to be a little bit more straight. But when I was looking at that on the radar imagery, it's actually part of the reason I delayed recording this particular one, and that was because I was watching that scan there, and I was just really curious as to what it was going to do. Very brief, and now that storm has really kind of lost a lot of its structure, but kind of cool there nonetheless. So sometimes, again, when we get these type of hail situations or these storms that produce some big hail, they typically have a mesocyclone within them, which is rotation within the actual storm. And sometimes that rotation can get brought down to the surface, and even though there was no tornado warning on it, There may have very well been, just a very faint little bit of rotation now, whether or not anything reached the ground. With radar scans like that, you don't normally see tornadoes actually on the ground with that, but it was certainly interesting nonetheless. And again, though, in weather, hey, there's no damage, we'll never know. So that's just kind of the way that shapes out. So I thought that was very interesting. Again, not much in the way of thunderstorm activity today across, the U.S. What we do have is this area of low pressure that is tracking its way through Minnesota, central part right here. I'll go ahead and put this back to one radar screen so you don't see two weather maps. We have this area of low pressure right here. It's trying to drag this frontal boundary across Minnesota. As we go into the overnight hours, that low is going to track its way over pretty much where I am, and then continue on its way through Wisconsin and over into the rest of the Great Lakes. And we'll have some wraparound moisture tomorrow, and that'll give us some rain showers, hopefully. Otherwise, my forecast is going to be a little trippy if that doesn't happen. But you get the idea. I thought it was pretty cool. Again, not, this was not a severe weather outbreak by any means, but let's also go ahead and take a look down here in Oklahoma. I got some relatives who live down there, in Norman, actually, right by the SPC, ironically. Let's take a look at this little guy now. Let's see here. This particular thunderstorm, this is Tecumseh Shawnee area, so we're looking on the southeast side of Oklahoma City. There's Norman, which is where the University of Oklahoma is, as well as the Storm Prediction Center. Here's Oklahoma City. Choctaw, where I don't know why. I've always enjoyed saying that town name, Choctaw. I don't know why. Anyways, Mustang, Yukon, Midwest City is up here. All right, you get the idea. Let's see, I'm guessing this guy is going to be for some hail and some wind, so kind of barely a severe thunderstorm, at least in terms of its criteria. And, in meteorology, we're talking about severe thunderstorms. You would need 58-mile-an-hour winds or greater, or 1-inch size hail or greater, or both. In this case, it looks like it's going to be warned for. Let's go ahead and see what we can't see here. Let's go ahead and see what it's got a little bit of wind with it. Nothing too unusual. Let's see what the VILs look like. Boy, I've had to use this radar a lot today, the VIL radar. It's not too often I get to do that, but yeah, it does appear to be. Now, mind you, though, when you get a little close to the radar site, you get a bit wonky, but it does look like right around Bethel Acres, heading up to Shawnee, there's a nice little pocket there, maybe of about some, dimed 1-inch size hail. So yeah, a little storm going on down there too. All part of the same system. Same cold front. That is dragging its way through our area, is helping to produce, these storms that you see here on the radar imagery all the way down in Oklahoma. One of the many things you'll learn as we do these weather chats is how everything can be easily related in weather. A storm far away can actually be tied directly, well, as everything in weather is tied directly to everything, but you get the idea. This storm did produce about 1 to 1.25 size inch hail. Looking at it there on the VILs, this is from the Tulsa radar now, and it does look pretty good. Albeit, I'm betting you it probably looked a little bit better a few scans ago. Let's double check here, though, with these storms firing up here. Down there, again, they also got a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect for them. Again, also kind of mainly for some of the hail. Let's go ahead here and see what this looks like on the VIL radar. Yeah, so it looks like it's kind of back and forth. I'd say a hail course probably intensifying, but it looks like this might be kind of one of those multi-cell storms that just kind of jump a little bit. So you have one that pops up, does pretty well, and then the new one will pop up and call it a multi-cell thunderstorm. And ironically, that might actually be exactly what that is, in the sense that, you see a part of it fire up. Because I'm looking at the lower part. It's a little hard for me. It's a little hard. So I'll go ahead and move the radar down a little bit, but you can see how it looked kind of decent down here, and that weakened off. And then this section got stronger. Now this section's getting stronger, which means this section might weaken off, and then eventually it'll kind of go up to that section. So that's what if only looking at 7 radar scans, it looks to me like that's what's going on. So kind of cool. All righty. So there's some storms. I know tonight's weather chat, not very exciting, but again, the big thing, Tropical Storm Lee, will likely become a hurricane pretty soon, and relatively speaking, in hurricane sense. and that can be very interesting to watch. And also, we do have some storms. I like storms. I think all storms are interesting. I know some people don't, but hey, to each their own. But that's kind of a look right now. What's going on over there? Let's see. We got any other? Well, this guy up here looks pretty nice too. This is way north of Tulsa now. We're getting close to Kansas. I think Quapaw, Oklahoma should be nearby here somewhere. I don't know why. You ever had like one of those towns that you just always remember, and for some odd reason, Quapaw is one of those towns, or I don't know why. Anyways, oh no, well, there's also Ponca City should be somewhere up here. Anyways, let's take a look at this storm really quickly here. This guy is just kind of coasting its way through northern Oklahoma. Looks to be a pretty good storm there. Nice hail, but it's got this little guy down here to contend with. Yeah, pretty neat storm. Fired right up. It looks like to me, I'm going to guess the front boundary is about right there. It's back here, so it's probably moved a little bit. Yeah, so it's about right back here. And for those of you wondering what I'm looking at, I actually have the screen over here. So I got the computer screen and I have a second screen. That's what I'm looking at. In case you guys ever wonder, what am I looking at or randomly pointing at? I have a screen here, and oftentimes I forget you guys can't see that screen on this camera. But so what I'm looking at here, yeah, it's a pretty decent little hailstorm right there. So pretty cool. Just a normal night out in the plains, I guess. So you can see that severe thunderstorm watch extends all the way back into Missouri. There's the cold front. You can see it's right along that cold front there. So that's pretty cool. Go back to one map so you can see that front. Again, it's attached all the way to this area of low pressure, and actually goes even further north. It goes back into Canada of the overarching parent low pressure, but you get the idea. So a little bit of a stormy evening across some parts of the Mississippi Valley, mainly the part that I live in, and then as well as those storms down there in Oklahoma. So pretty cool here. And I want to take one more look over at this guy. Let's see if he's still holding on, man. Still holding on. Obviously much weaker, but it is still holding on. Probably not any hail within it at this point, just some big raindrops. It's kind of lost a lot of its structure, but it's still going. That storm is kicking it, man. So it's still moving. Looks like right now it's kind of starting to get a little bit of a kind of a line here, more or less trying to develop around the northern part of Douglas County and back in Wisconsin. That'll track eastward. Then we got this activity back here, but this does not appear to be severe back here. Wouldn't be surprised if one or two of those storms try to become strong later on, but all things considered, as far as the severe weather is concerned, looks like this will probably be about the peak. Now the sun is beginning to set, we'll probably start seeing a lot of this activity tapering down. All right, everyone. That's all I got for you today. Like I said, I know not the most exciting weather day, but for me, at least it has been. It's always an exciting day when I get to deal with storms. I like storms. I also like blizzards, which, hey, that reminds me. Oh, yeah, that we had that thing up on the Facebook page. What's your favorite type of severe weather? And everyone answered blizzards. I like blizzards. I love blizzards. They're fun. But I found that very interesting. I'm trying to think of what the next question will be. But who knows? Try to get that posted up here later on. But anyways, for those of you who decided to sit through and randomly listen to me ramble about the weather for 20 minutes? Hey, thank you very much. Sometimes we do these live, sometimes we do them pre-record, just depends on the situation, but we will be doing this again tomorrow evening. We're going to take a look at Lee, Tropical Storm Lee. We'll take a look at other storms if we have any. You can hear the thunder rumbling here. Yes. Sorry, I'm just excited. We really haven't had a storm here in like over a month. It's just been very dry up here, so certainly some much needed rain. I know my garden will appreciate it. I water it anyway, but still, it's nice when I don't know. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, with that in mind, everyone, thank you all very much for taking the time to join me here on this little weather chat here, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day. And hey, we'll see you back here tomorrow evening. We'll take a look at Lee and any other fun weather that's going on. Have a good rest of your evening, everybody, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.